Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of This Brother Talks. We're going to talk about a bevy of topics in sports today. I just want to tell anybody who gets on, thank you for coming to check it out. Continue to watch it. You can give feedback, comment, whatever. I do my best to comment back, keep you involved, and try to stay engaged. So, we had a host of things that happened over the course of last week and from last week until now. And, we only do this once a week. So I'm not going to be able to get everything in that we really want to because, sometimes staying on too long will kind of, bore you out. I want you to keep coming back. So, I just took the ones that I felt like was most important to me. And we're going to talk about those and we'll go from there. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is the Tiger Woods accident. Tiger Woods was in an accident on February 24th near LA. They had to give him emergency surgery, and he had rod placed in his tibia of his right leg and pin stabilized the injury to his foot and ankles. He also suffered trauma to his muscle and soft tissue in his right leg. But now Tiger has been transferred to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, and he has some follow-up procedures. Talking about this is whenever I first saw it, the first thing I said, man, I hope Tiger's all right, because I've seen the pictures of, the video of the car turned over, the SUV turned over. And, that's the thing that got me first. I was like, man, I hope that he's okay, as far as, nothing life threatening, that, he would be able to survive this crash. And then, reports started coming out of us, a single car crash, it turned over. And I saw comments of people, just kind of bashing Tiger of what happened previously and what happened in the past. And that baffled me because, somebody could be struggling for their life, or, even if he had some issues where he was on some medication and something happened, that's still not the time to bash anybody, because, accidents can turn out to be fatal. I mean, we saw what happened a little over a year ago with Kobe in the helicopter. So you never know what's going to happen. So take time out to, pray and hope that this guy is okay, versus the first thing you start doing is thinking of the negative side of it. Oh, well, what did he do? And this, that, and the third. That's the thing that bothered me about that. Luckily, they just said it was just an accident. Everybody was waiting. It was a lot of people. I ain't gonna say everybody. It was a lot of people waiting to hear that Tiger had did something to cause this accident, and ready to jump on that train to bash him and make him look bad. Yes, he has some bad years, but finally he has started coming to his own. He was kind of opening up to people. You saw him, do a father-son tournament. You saw different things out of Tiger Woods, and at the age of 45, my next thought was, I hope that he can rebound from this, because Tiger's still a good golfer. Is he the greatest that he was and more dominant like he was back in the day? No, but he's still a good golfer, and everybody pays to see Tiger. If Tiger's not there, golf ratings goes down. And I just pray that everything works out well for him. He has some significant injuries. It's going to take some time to come back from, but we don't know what's in here for Tiger. So, hopefully he comes back. If he wants to golf, I hope he does come back and play golf. But most importantly, he has his life. He can recover from this injury. It's going to take some time. We don't know how long, and how the severity of it. We getting reports, but we don't really know the severity of it. So, and I thought it was a great gesture on Sunday. All the golfers wearing red, because everybody know that Tiger's the guy. He comes out, he wears red on Sundays. that's one thing we look forward to. And I thought it was a great gesture by the golfers on at the tournament this past weekend. A lot of the guys were wearing red, and and just reflecting on Tiger. Like he touched guys, and they reached out to him, and heartfelt. And I thought that was a great gesture for them to wear red, and and just remember him. Not trying to take anything away from anything. They just like, we're gonna honor Tiger, wear red, because that's something that he does. He's done for years on Sunday, and so that's my little spiel on Tiger. I just want to talk about that because everybody shouldn't want to always get the negative and stuff. They should, see some good in some things, like, or if something tragic like this happened, because Tiger has kids, he has a family. So if something was to happen, think about his family first before you go bashing people. And that's something about social media now. Social media gives people that strong voice now that they can use to say whatever, and really they hide behind the keyboard and hide behind the screen. And so, best wishes to Tiger. Hope Tiger, recovers from this and he can continue to play golf and play golf at a high level. And if he chooses not to, then that's his prerogative. In my opinion, he will still go down as the greatest golfer that I ever seen. I wasn't interested in golf until I saw Tiger and Tiger on the golf course. And you can say that about a lot of people I know that I grew up with, and, people that, of color, they didn't really get into golf because, we didn't have anybody that looked like us. And so Tiger, he brought that to us. All right, so our next time, we're going to keep moving along, and we're going to talk about Brad Stevens not so lucky in Boston. I talked about this some months ago. I did it on my personal page, and I talked about Brad Stevens, and I felt, and I still feel this way, that Brad Stevens has ran his course in Boston. A lot of people don't want to agree with this. They keep saying, oh, well, he got a young team. He been having, people leave, come, go. He got Kemba Walker now. He had Kyrie Irving. He had this player, that player. But that goes with sports. And if I'm not mistaken, this guy used to be a college coach. The way they turn around in college, you can't use that excuse for him. He should be able to adjust to that situation if he's going to be a great coach, because in this day and age now, it's a lot of players that sign 1-year contracts, 2-year contracts. So they're not going to be there long, or they leave and they come as trades and all that stuff. So that excuse for them. Then the other excuse was, oh, they were playing against LeBron. Okay, LeBron has been out of the East for 3 years. For 3. So, and now you into this season. I said it last season, like I saw it in Boston, where they were very undisciplined. They didn't know how to close games. They didn't have an identity. They still don't have an identity. And that goes with coaching to me. Like, the coach establishes all of that stuff. If they're very undisciplined, that's on the coach. If they can't close games, that's on the coach. And that's what I don't understand. Like, people steady making up this excuse and that excuse. Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics right now are 17-17. That's 500. They had a 500, record. And we're getting pretty close to All-Star break. And he has Jaylen Brown, he has Jason Tatum, he has Kemba Walker. Nobody can use Kemba Walker being hurt, because Brad Stevens just came out a few days ago and said that Kemba has been healthy since he came back. So that's not an excuse. You can't use that excuse. I just feel like this right here. Brad Stevens is a good coach. And I'm not saying that he can't coach and he can't coach in the NBA again. What I'm saying is that Brad Stevens has run his course in Boston. They need a new voice. I think he's lost the ear of these guys. Like, they hear him, but it's going in one ear and out the other. And so with that being said, it's time for a new voice. These guys are young and talented, and they need somebody to take them and push them to the next level. If they don't get pushed, eventually they're gonna jump ship and go somewhere else. And like I said, I don't want anybody to just be fired or anything like that. But Brad Stevens has been the Boston Celtics coach for some years now. And when I say some years, I mean, like, if I'm not mistaken, if you go and you put Brad Stevens' record now, when he first came, and then whenever he's been the head coach since 2013. This is what, year 8? Yeah, this is year 8. Yeah, year 8. So how many years are we gonna get this guy to take this team over the top? Boston has, is known for winning championships and just getting to the conference finals or getting to the playoffs. If that's what they're satisfied with mediocrity, then keep. But if you want to go to the next level, you got to find somebody to push this good young talent that Boston has. Jason Tatum could be a star. Jaylen Brown, I'm kind of on the fence with him. He could be a star in this league too, simply because, but I just think he's kind of up and down. But if you find somebody that can change that mindset and can push him, then they will eventually become superstars in this league. And you can build around those two. If you got 2 stars and then you put somebody, put the right pieces with them, that team could be dynamic. And I'm on the fence about Kemba. I never really been a big fan of Kemba Walker. I think he's a good piece, but I think that Boston needs a point guard that facilitates more. Kemba's more of a scoring point guard. And with Boston now, he fits Boston perfectly because they do a whole lot of one-on-one. And that's all they do. They do a lot of one-on-one, and that's all it is. It's nothing spectacular about it. That's the only identity they have. Oh, we're gonna play one-on-one, and we hope that we can beat you one-on-one. And that's not good sound basketball whenever you got stars like that, because down the stretch, they don't close well. They don't know how to close, and that's all on coaching. I just don't feel like this team, nowhere in the world, this team that Boston has structured should be a 500 team. Yes, they had a few injuries, but who hasn't? It's a bunch of teams that had injuries. It's a bunch of teams that had people been out for COVID protocol. I mean, look at Brooklyn. KD been out a lot for COVID protocol, for hamstring, and their 2 stars is still taking them to the next level. Now, I'm not saying that Tatum and Brown is Kyrie Irving and James Harden, but that's just an example. It's an example of whenever you have a complete team and you have decent coaching, then that takes the team to another level. I'm not saying that Steve Nash is better than Brad Stevens, because Brad Stevens, he's good with X's and O's. Like, don't get me wrong about that. You call timeout, and you go, this guy's going to draw up a play, and you're guaranteed to get a shot more times than none. But with that being said, all the other stuff is not coming together for him. And like after year 7 and 8, like at some point in time, you got to call it, what it is, and say that Brad Stevens is just not the coach for this team. He could probably go somewhere else and be just fine. I mean, that's how I feel. I feel like Brad Stevens now would have to be with somebody like a LeBron James or Kevin Durant, somebody who, they got stars, and, only thing they got to do is just put them in the right spots and all that good stuff. And they know how to close, they know how to finish. But you got this good young talent that you're about to let go to waste, because I done seen it happen before. These guys, see it and they be like, somebody else paint a better picture for them, and then they up and gone. and then you done stuck with this coach too long. I mean, we just seen in 2 years, Atlanta just fired their coach. You know, and they're not nearly as talented as Boston. So, you know, that being said, Brad Stevens, I just feel like, you know, his luck has run out in Boston, and it's time for a change in Boston. Like these guys are not hearing him. I think they're deaf tone to his voice now, because he's just not, you know, reaching out to them, and then they just don't hear him anymore. Because I mean, I just feel like it's ran its course. They need somebody else. It's time for a change, and you know, they might turn around. If they turn around, I'll change my opinion on everything. But right now, I just feel like it's hard to come back from this 17-17 season. Like, they've been playing mediocre basketball. They don't finish games, and they're losing games and stuff like that. This team right here will not beat the Brooklyn Nets. They will not. They will not beat the Milwaukee Bucks. If you can't beat neither one of those, then what's the purpose? Boston is about winning championships. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. What's up, Morgan? And so we're going to move right along, and we're going to talk about something. And I changed this topic because I wasn't going to talk about this. I was going to talk about the NCAA, but I can come back and talk about the NCAA because, you know, they get ready to do their you know, pick for March Madness and all that good stuff. It's coming up. So I got plenty of time to talk about this. But we're going to talk about Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin made some comments, you know, in reference to black coaches in the NFL and how the NFL is lacking. And, you know, he basically called out the NFL for, you know, not giving black coaches, you know, the opportunity that, you know, they give white coaches, and, or, you know, or just minority and period. But I'll say this, what Mike Tomlin said is the truth. I totally agree with him. I agree with him about, you know, black coaches not getting, you know, the same as white coaches. And, you know, it's sad that we're still talking about this, but this is the NFL. Like this, the NFL has a good old boys mentality. You know, the owners stick together. You know, you don't have any really minority owners, anything like that. And so, and then they have a Rooney Rule, and they can just, you know, they can just get past that by, I'll interview this one guy, but I already know who I'm going to hire. And so I agree with Mike Tomlin whenever it comes to that. But this is my issue with Mike Tomlin. And I heard a lot of people say it, but the first thing that popped in my mind was, who has Mike Tomlin had on his coaching staff? And with him and his coaching staff, I don't recall him having any black coaches or any minority coaches. And his excuse was he liked to hire in-house, but I done seen him hire out of house, you know, at the end of the day. So the message was good, but Tomlin sounds very hypocritical because he is not doing what he says the NFL should be doing. So you being a black coach, why haven't you tried to hire some black coordinators or some minority coordinators instead of calling out everybody else for not doing it when you're not doing the exact same thing? That's my only issue with what Mike Tomlin, you know, what he said. It's not the message, it's the messenger. And, you know, that messenger, it's just, I mean, I don't like, Todd Haley was out of house. He hired Todd Haley. He could have found somebody else. At the end of the day, Mike Tomlin been coaching in the NFL for 13, 14 years. I think 14 years. 14 years. And he doesn't have any minority or black, you know, coordinators. And what better place to do it than Pittsburgh, who owners created the Rooney Rule. And you're a black coach. So you're in control of who you hire and who you fire. So you had every opportunity to do that. You had every opportunity to hire somebody of a minority descent and been good. Then you would have had a leg to stand on. That I agree totally with what you saying about the NFL, because we all think that, we all know that the NFL is a good old boys club. You have most of them are older white gentlemen who don't feel like minorities or blacks belong in the club, and we can keep ranting, raving about it. It's not going to change until somebody like you. That's why I can respect Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians had a coaching staff full of blacks, full of minorities, and look what happened. Given the opportunity, do I agree with Mike Tomlin about Eric Bieniemy? Yes, because it's been said, and I listened to a Tony Dungy interview. Tony Dungy said that he had went for an interview, and everybody, if you see Tony Dungy, he's real cool, calm, and collect, soft spoken, but he's won a Super Bowl. So I listened to the interview, and Tony Dungy said that, one of the interviews he went to, they told him, well, you just like, you're not the guy for us. And, they told him why. And they said he was too soft-spoken. There's no way that he's going to be able to control the locker room being that soft-spoken, because he's not coming in there cussing, fussing, and ranting and raving. And Tony Dungy was like, okay. He said, but years later, he saw this, owner that wouldn't hire him and told him he made a mistake. The owner came and told him that he made a mistake. Just because you're not cussing, fussy, he ended up hiring a white guy because the white guy, cuss, fuss, and raise his voice and all that good stuff. And Tony Dungy said, a lot of times whenever it comes to the black coaches, you'll hear, oh, they didn't do good in the interview. You were hearing that by Eric Bieniemy and all that good stuff. Instead of just saying, this is not who I want to hire, you make up an excuse to say he's having bad interviews. And we all know that that's not the case. Eric Bieniemy should have had a job. Yes, he should have. Byron Leftwich, he should have a job. Look at the job that both of them did in Kansas City and Tampa Bay. I mean, yes, Mike Tomlin, you're right, but the message would have came better if you practiced what you preached. Plain and simple. I wouldn't have an issue with it, because what you said is so very true. It's so true. And at the end of the day, until you correct that, because you got all the power that you need to do that. You are the head coach of one of the most successful, and I would say powerful organizations in the NFL, in the Pittsburgh Steelers. So what better place to do it? What better place? You've been there 14 years. How long have any black coach besides you and Tony Dungy held a head coaching job for that long, for a tenure that long? Think about it. And if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. I don't know. Ron Rivera is a minority. He held a Panthers job for some years, and now he's in with the Washington football team. So that's another. But it's not too many times that we get the opportunity to be in those situations. So take full advantage of it. I'm not saying abuse your power and just hire anybody. Yeah, you want to hire the best, but it's a lot of blacks and minorities that are the best, and you give them the opportunity, which I mean you should be able to. Just practice what you preach, Mike Tomlin. Plain and simple. And so we're going to move right along. And our next is we're going to do the NBA power rankings. And I said I was going to start doing this once a week. And, it could change from week to week. And, because, teams lose, teams win, teams get better, teams get worse, people get injured. So on and so forth. And then with COVID now, you never know, like with their COVID protocol, players might miss games for an extended period of time and all that good stuff. So, so now I'm going to show what my power rankings are. And a lot of people might disagree with it, but I have I have the 76ers at 5, the Bucks at 4, Suns at 3, Jazz at 2, and the Nets at 1. And the 76ers, they were knocking on my top 5 last week simply because they had been playing, but they had lost a couple of games. But, they got back on their winning strides and they playing good basketball. So I put them at 5 simply because they got, Joel Embiid. He playing at an all-star level, and playing at the MVP level. And I think he's one of the front runners for MVP this year. And then I have the Bucks. Now the Bucks were on a downward spiral a few weeks ago, and they done won 5 straight. Giannis is playing better. The team is playing better, and I have them at 4. And they and that's because they won 5, and they playing good at this time. Then I have the Phoenix Suns. And everybody knows how I feel about Chris Paul and what he does to teams and organizations and all that good stuff. And he has his blueprint all over the Phoenix Suns right now. And he make Devin Booker a better player simply because Devin Booker doesn't have to do anything but score. I wish he would do a little bit more rebounding and stuff like that. But all he has to do is score now, because Chris Paul would do all those little scrappy things and, all that good stuff. But I have them at 3. Then I have the Jazz at 2, simply because the Jazz is just playing phenomenal basketball. And they're at 2 simply because it's a regular season thing and it's a power thing, week to week. Do I feel like the Jazz are contenders to win the championship? No. I don't think that they have a good enough team, and some people would not understand this at all. Right now, you're playing against different teams on different nights, so therefore, it's a lot that other teams have to worry about whenever it comes to your team. So they'll prepare for you tonight, and they won't really prepare for you because they know the next night they got to prepare for somebody else. So the focus is not solely on you. And so I feel like the Jazz are one of those teams that will win games simply because they're playing against different teams every day. And it's easy to win. If you're playing good, it's easy to win games. But whenever it gets to the playoffs and a team can solely focus on everything that you do, they make adjustments strictly for you. And that's all they have to do from game to game is worry about you and you only. I think that's when the Jazz is going to struggle whenever they get into a slow me down, grind out 7-game series. And, and I'm not saying that they're going to get swept or anything like that. What I'm saying is that whenever the playoffs come around, that's when you will see, I think, the Jazz team that will struggle a bit against the better teams, like, say, the Clippers and the Lakers and, even the Suns maybe, because I'm not sold on a lot of the Jazz. But yeah, they like I said, they play a good team basketball. Mike Conley is the floor general. He makes it easy for those guys. When they had I think that was the weakest link because, he couldn't knock down shots, but Mike Conley can consistently knock down shots, and he's going to get people the ball in the right places at the right time. And so they're playing real good, and they defend too. But, I have them at number 2 right now, and the Nets are number 1. I just feel like the Nets are the best team in basketball right now simply because they're playing without KD, and what James Harden and Kyrie Irving are doing without the best player is phenomenal. Yeah, they took a loss the other night against the Mavs, but Kyrie didn't play, KD didn't play, and so James was out there with the supporting cast or whatever, so they wasn't at full strength. So I gave them a pass on that, but the Nets, to me, playing the way they're playing, with Kyrie and James, and then once KD is inserted, they're going to be like very, very hard to beat. And a lot of people are asking questions about them playing defense, which I've seen them play defense. But who can stop these guys? That's the biggest question. Who can stop them? And then the other question is like they're asking, is it enough balls for KD, James, and Kyrie because they haven't played together a lot? James is a facilitator. He's gonna get his here and there. He'll take less shots and distribute and be happy with damn near triple doubles every night. Then you got Kyrie. He's gonna take the bulk of the shots simply because he doesn't have to facilitate and all that good stuff. But then you got Kevin Durant. He can average 30 points and only take 15 shots. It's that simple. I mean, when KD comes back, it doesn't take a lot for him to do a whole lot of scoring. He's so efficient, and he's having a hamstring problem. But I think they're being more cautious about anything simply because the team has been playing very, very well. And so there's no need to rush him back simply because they're playing good. Now, if they were losing games, you insert KD in there so you can get some momentum. But you got James Harden playing well. I mean, he's been playing the best basketball out of anybody. And you don't hear his name in the MVP conversation and none of that stuff. And I think that's unfair to him because everybody's trying to hold the entire Houston thing against him. And that's just not right in my personal opinion. He won out of Houston. That's another story for another day. But at the end of the day, James Harden is playing, at an MVP level. If not, if he's not getting consideration for MVP, then we might as well throw that out of the book because this is what he's doing, facilitating. He's rebounding the basketball. He's even playing defense. He's doing it on both ends. So we got to give James a little credit for what he's doing with the Nets, and that's my power ranking. Like I said, it could change from week to week, but that's where I'm at now. Some people might disagree with it, which I don't have no problem with. You can have your own version of it and all that good stuff. My aunt is so late. Yeah, Mike Tomlin is confused. I'm gonna need for you to catch up on Janet. Yeah, Sabrina. I thought he did too until I did some checking. So the next topic is something today is March the 1st, 2021, and it's Women's History Month. And, it's a lot of women that has done a lot of great things in this world. I know a lot of, good, strong women that, have paved the way for a lot of us and paved the way for a lot of, people in this world. I have cousins, I have aunts, my mama, God rest her soul, my wife, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, all of them, they've done great things in this world. But, we're going to talk about some women in sports that have done great, successful things. And for the rest of the month, I'm going to do, probably 2 women each show for the rest of Women History Month, because we need to start, giving our women props. You got to give credit when credit is due. We do a whole lot of talking about men and what the men do and all that good stuff, but some of these women, a lot of these women do great, phenomenal things. And so the first lady we're going to talk about is Pat Summitt. Pat Summitt coached at the University of Tennessee. And Pat Summitt was coaching, and that's when I really started getting really, really involved in watching women's basketball, women's college basketball like that, because Pat Summitt had that Tennessee Volunteers team, and man, were they tough. And Pat Summitt won 8 national titles. And when I say she won them because she had some powerhouse teams. And then she had a 3-peat in 96, 97, and 98. She became the first coach male or female, to reach 1,000 career wins, which I think that's very impressive because she was winning and winning at a high level, and she did it for years. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she started coaching in 1972, right before they did the Title IX or whatever. And it was just great to for that. And she, Sabrina, I agree with you. A boss. Pat Summitt is a boss, and she ended up. Pat Summitt ended up getting diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and when she was diagnosed with that, she coached one more year after that, just to bring attention to the disease. And I think that she did a phenomenal job bringing attention to it. She ended up getting a foundation, the Pat Summitt Foundation, trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's. And then, she passed away in 2016. I didn't realize, she had been passed away that long, but she passed away in 2016, and she will be forever remembered as, if not the best women's coach, that in this generation. I mean, she just did phenomenal things. It ain't too often in college sports that, it is sport. It's hard to do back to back. And it's damn near impossible to do a three-peat. I mean, she did it in 96, 97, and 98. And that's one of the most impressive feats that she did. And she did it humbly. And all her players respected her. She did it the right way. I don't recall hearing anything about Pat Summitt doing anything that could jeopardize the integrity of the game or anything like that. So shout out to Pat Summitt, God rest her soul. One of the greatest women's coaches that we've ever seen in our lifetime. And next is we're going to discuss Lisa Leslie. Lisa Leslie was a phenomenal basketball player. I didn't root for her because she played for the LA Sparks, and I wasn't a big LA fan, period, because I wasn't a Laker fan, none of that stuff. So she played for the wrong organization. She played somewhere on the East Coast I might have rooted for. But I remember the game because I was watching the game, and she got a dunk in the game. So she was the first woman to get a dunk in a WNBA game. But listen to these stats that she has. She's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. She's a 2-time FIBA gold medalist. She's a 2002 World Cup MVP. She's a 3-time WNBA MVP. And when she retired in 2009, she was the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in the WNBA. And she paved the way for a lot of females to do a lot of things. Like, she was a pioneer in the sport. And Lisa Leslie is well respected in the sport, period. She is not just women's basketball. She's respected by the men and everything. And she just had an all-time phenomenal career. And she was one of the first ones that played when they started the WNBA, which, I watched it. They had some good teams and good competition she played against. And she was just all around a phenomenal woman. So I just wanted to address the two women in sports this week, Pat Summitt and Lisa Leslie. Our shots goes out to them, and what they've done to help, promote women's sports or women in general, And like I said, it's 2021, and we're still talking about, women, being treated equally. And it's sad, but, I'm going to keep trying to shed a light on it because it's something I'm going to continue to talk about. I like sports. I like male sports, female sports, because I'm just a sports guy. I'm a sports head. Like I said, I'd rather watch women's basketball versus men's basketball because it's a little bit more entertaining to me because I like fundamentals. I like people to play defense. I don't like I ain't going to say I don't like the athleticism, but I don't like all the athleticism because that's what a lot of the men use in their game today, where the women have to be fundamentally sound. And I like that because that's kind of more my game, because I wasn't, I'm 5'10", 5'11", so my athleticism was, slim to none. I could do what I need to do, but more times than none, I was more of a shooter and all that good stuff. But this month, and then, for the rest of this month, I'm going to, it's because it's Women's History Month, but I will shed a light on women's sports and the great things that women do in this day and age, So we're going to move on along, and we are going to discuss. We're going to go to our final word. And this show is kind of quick today because, it's shorter than us. But my final word is, and this right here is something that's near and dear to me. And I talk about it all the time because it bothers me, when people use this word or words, whenever they say that players suck and they're bums, whenever it comes to professional athletes. And I had a conversation with some professional athletes, and all of them agree, because we look at the greatness of a LeBron or a KD and Steph Curry, and Russell Westbrook, and all of them, and Damian Lillard. We and Giannis. We look at the greatness of all of them, and we think that all players supposed to be on that level. And that's never going to happen. So we have to be careful whenever we say that players suck or they're bums, because you really don't know how good that last player on that bench really is. Just because they're not on the talent level as a top tier, but it took something for them to get to that level and for them not to suck. So me being a former athlete, former basketball player, I kind of be like now, because I used to get caught up in that. And I had to really, take a step back and look at things and say that everybody doesn't suck. It's just everybody's not on the same level. You have guys that are superstars. You have guys that are stars. And then you have role players. Then it's different levels to role players. And, you can say that a guy sucked, and TC, I agree with you. It's all about roles in the league. It is. And they will kill an average player. And I agree with you. That is 100% true. And that's where I was going with this, because people don't realize that the last man on that bench is really good, and not realizing that that last player on the bench is pushing the top tier guys. I use my brother for an example. My brother played at Virginia Commonwealth, and he done facts, different levels of role players. Hey, my brother played at Virginia Commonwealth, and a lot of people know what he did at VCU. All-time leading scorer, assist guy, hit the game winner against Duke in the NCAA tournament. And then he goes to the league. Last man at the gym would go in the gym and cook. Absolutely. Absolutely. My brother goes to the NBA, and he had a great college career. Great. But that wasn't going to happen on an NBA team. It's not because he wasn't good enough. It was because everybody has a role. And when you have good teams, you have your superstar, then you have your other star, and then you have role players. And everybody has a role. And if you watch a lot of these teams, it's some guys that rebound well. It's some guys that just set screens well. It's some guys that just come out there and foul well. It's some guys that come out there and just bring energy. And what they tell you on these NBA teams, some guys might not play 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. But that 11th game, if they're a professional and they understand that, oh, it's my time to play, and they come out there and produce. So we have to be careful saying players suck or he's a bum, because we're average Joes, and some of us have played college, some of us played high school, some of us didn't even play middle school. And so for you to say that somebody sucked and you're not even in the situation they're in, you didn't have the talent to get there. So what did that say about you? That's my issue with that word and what people say. You know, I agree. Sometimes you're better off in the league as a specialist. And this is what I say about, you know, a lot of people get caught up in a lot of these guys having upside. I don't see a lot of guys say, oh, he got a great upside. But this is the way I measure players now to have success in college or in the pros. Whatever you do, you got to find what you do and find what you do great. So you got some guys that say, oh, man, I can do it all. I can score, I can rebound, you know, I can do whatever I need to do. But which one of those things do you do great? And whatever you do great, that's what you got to work on. And you be great at that. Some people are great at scoring. Some people are great at shooting. Some people are just, you know, great at energy guys. And people don't realize, to get into professional sports, if you're just an energy guy and you do that well, you will get paid good money. You hear me? You will get paid good money. Like, people do not realize that. I just need to find my niche, and whatever I do, I'm going to do it well. And going back to my brother, whenever he got to, you know, to Utah, they had the scoring. They had the guys who were going to do the scoring. All he was supposed to do is come in, relieve, and be, you know, an assist guy. Keep the team going. You know, unfortunately, he got traded to Oklahoma City because of a business deal. And then when you playing with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, what the hell do you need to score for? Let me just get these guys the ball and put them in the right place, and, you know, let them do the scoring. And if my man help, they dish it to me, I just be a knockdown guy. I don't need to do anything special besides just do that. And that's what people fail to realize. Whenever you get to professional sports, it's not about guys sucking. Yeah, some of these guys have bad seasons. Some of them have bad games. They just went through a rough patch. But in order for that guy to have gotten there, they had to be pretty decent. And then just because what you did in college doesn't translate to the NFL, to the MLB, or the NBA, or any professional sport, doesn't mean that you suck. That just meant that you were not meant to be at that particular place at that particular time. So we need to start being careful about who we say suck, or who is not good, or who's a bum. Because if you call that player a bum who's sitting on the end of an NBA bench or at the end of an NFL roster, and you say that guy suck, and he's making $5-6 million a year, and you getting up going to work every day, and you making $17.50 an hour because you didn't have what it took to get there, then what does that say about you? Yeah, TC, I agree with you on that. They did. They had the best bench that year. They really did. And all of them played well together, like very well together. Exactly. Ty, that makes hella sense. When Richardson, whenever he started shooting, that's when he started getting his money. Like, I mean, that's the way I look at it. Like, guy niche. Dennis Rodman made money just for rebounding. For rebounding. That's all he did was rebound. That's all he had to do was rebound. You go back and you look at Shane Battier. All he did was defend, pick up charges. He kept a job and got paid good money while doing it. And that's what people fail to realize, that the last man on the bench will go to your gym and torch the average player. Not because he sucked. That's because he's just not better than that top guy. Sometimes it's a real big disparity. And what people fail to realize is that you have so many people that are in people's ear telling them how good they are. Like, oh, he's good, he's good, he's good. And I see this in a lot of people. You got the wrong people in your ear telling you stuff. I use a guy from our area, Smith Jr. He's very athletic. He doesn't shoot the ball well. But he has so many people telling him he good. But Dennis just needs to find that one niche that will keep him in the league. Whether it's just being a hustle guy or, making himself a shooter, he got to do something to keep himself there. And not worry about how good everybody say I am. There's a lot of guys that JJ Barea, Jason Terry, Lou Williams. Look at Lou Williams. Lou Williams, 6 man. He don't give a damn about starting. He just comes off the bench and scores. That's all they do. When guys realize that all I need to do is play a role. This is my job. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do every night. They will be fine in their setting. But just because I don't play, or just because I'm not as good as that top guy, I might be number 15, but doesn't mean I suck. So we need to start taking into consideration all the stuff that we say about some of these players. Oh, they suck. We all on social media talking about how they suck, how they ass, how they bums, and this, that, and the third. But if you go and take a look at everything, were you that good? And I'm going to end it off that, because that's something for everybody to think about. Whenever you call somebody a bum or say they suck, think about it. Would you say that you suck because you're not where they are? Yeah, sometimes you rather be lucky than good because they got lucky and was in a certain situation or whatever. But at the same time, they had to be good enough to get in that situation. Were you able to get there? So we're going to end it off that. We want to say thanks to everyone who came and watched and participated and made comments. I tried my best to respond back to everyone. I hope everybody comes back on next week. I'll be back next Monday at 7:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Next Monday, I have a host of other different topics that we're going to talk about. I hope everybody have a good rest of their week, and everybody pay attention to sports, pay attention to life. Hey, mask up. It is real. Take care of yourself, and everybody be blessed. Everybody have a good day.